Good afternoon, my dear friends. This is Amit Bhattacharya, Professor of English, University of Gurbango, welcoming you to another of my video uploads. We are discussing certain poems of Kamala, the famous and controversial Indian woman poet who wrote in English and who was a pioneering figure. Today I have chosen for discussion the poem Delhi-1984. Delhi-1984, before we read the poem, I must give you some historical facts that will make you understand the background of this particular poem. Delhi-1984, if you look at the title, specifies both the time and the place. It's obviously 1984 and it's Delhi. Now, so far as my dear friends who are students till now are concerned, most of you were not born then. So obviously, you may not know that number one, 31st October 1984 was a very fateful day. That was the day on which Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India, was gunned down by his bodyguards, Sarwan Singh and Dhyan Singh. It was a kind of a reprisal because Indira Gandhi ordered Operation Blue Star against the Sikh extremists and Alsas, and the Indian army entered the Golden Temple. It hurt the religious feelings of the Sikhs and some of the deluded extremists among the Sikhs, They decided to kill Indira Gandhi and send out a message not only to India but also to the world. Now, this led to a massive reprisal attack against the Sikh communities by some of the deluded residents of Delhi and other parts of India also. Actually, anti-Sikh feelings were fanned by the power mongers among the political leaders of the day, and as a result, Side's suburbs were turned into almost war zone-like situation. Homes were burnt. Gurdwaras went up in flames. Shops were looted. Shops owned by Sikhs. Sikh men were done to death, lynched, burnt, shot, and killed in every other way. And helpless Sikh women were also gang raped by the scores. And this led to a massive attack against the Sikhs. Since the Sikhs also resisted to the extent possible, so from genocide it was turned into some kind of a riot. Even though the perpetrators were basically Hindu fundamentalists and irate mobs, and at the receiving end were the Sikhs. Now, this is the background of the poem. It's a very short poem. But before we read the poem, obviously I will take the help of one of my students who will read relevant portions of the poem, because as always I have divided the poem into short, thematically coherent sections so as to help us in understanding what Kamala Das is driving at. So let us begin with the text.
Yes, sir. The turbans were unowned, the long limbs broken and bound to seem like fagots.
So the turbans were unknown. The Sikhs wear turbans, and those turbans were unknown, and their long limbs were broken and bunched, and seemed like fagots, like wood that is used as fuel. So these were bunched and gifted. Now this is a peculiar Indian English usage, whereby gift, the noun is turned into a verb. Now here, these limbs of the Sikhs who were lynched, their limbs were broken and burnt. So they were like fagots, these limbs. So they fueled the fire of zealotry, fundamentalism, religious extremism. Okay, go on.
So that when such bundles were gifted to their respective homes, the women shone as their eyes alighted on a scarred knee or a tattooed arm.
As these were presented to their respective homes. We have to understand how macabre the description is. The limbs of the victims were being presented to their women folk, and they could recognize their loved ones, maybe husbands or fathers or sons, by finding a scarred knee or a tattooed arm. So, not the whole body, but body parts, limbs. So the gruesomeness of the pogrom is pointed out in very graphic way by Kamala Das. Okay, go on.
Next section, sir.
Of course.
The scriptural sounded like a lunatic guffaw. Any god's oath, his name would hasten to disown these dry-eyed adherents of the newest cult.
Okay. Now, the scriptural chant sounded like a lunatic guffaw. A lunatic, an insane person, a madman. He laughs out loud for no plausible reason. So this laugh means nothing. And to the indignant poet, the scriptural chants, religious extremism and ethnocentric conflicts are often fanned by and sanctioned by one religion or another. Though the spirit of any true religion should be against violence against any other religion or religious community, religion is often manipulated by power-hungry politicians or religious leaders. And as a result, the dry-eyed adherents, they are dry-eyed, they are ruthless, they never shed tears for the discomfiture or death of any of their victims. That Kamala Das has no quarrel with the spirit of true religion can very easily be understood from the fact that she herself says that any god worth his name would surely disown such ruthless persons, man-monsters, who shield themselves behind the name of religion and use the spirit of religion to further their own selfish ends or vested interests. So, scriptural chants to the indignant poet, and I can refer you back to Kamala Das's another poem, that is called The Inheritance. And there also she talks about the atmosphere of intolerance that is bred by the religious extremism of the main religions in India, be it Hinduism, be it Islam, be it Sikhism, and so on and so forth. Because Kamala Das, in another poem, Summer 1980, talks about another pogrom, another ethnic riot, between the Sikhs and the Nirankaris. Okay. So, even though true religion would surely disown, and true religion must not have anything to do with such religious extremism and fundamentalism, in reality, often religion is treated as a shield by the power-hungry zealots and politicians. Okay, let's go to the next section.
No breast was left unfondled, no right count overlooked as terror. Fleet of foot did rampage the sedate suburbs, while in the Queen's funeral pyre the embers lay cooling.
Okay. Now, if the 6 men were done to death brutally, then what happened to their helpless women? This is something that is now being described by Kamala. Every sedate or peaceful suburb was ransacked. In the suburbs of Delhi, communities where Sikhs had a sizable population, these suburbs were actually singled out for extra brutal treatment. And the homes that, according to P.P. Ravindran, indicates the presence of the domestic calm. Even the sanctity of the homesteads were not maintained. And that is why the women were gang raped. And see how brutal and indiscriminate this violence against women was. No breasts were unfondled. So every breast was squeezed. Every body was defiled. And no right cunt was overlooked. Pubis or female genitalia. So they were raped brutally. And terror was unleashed by the irate mobs. And they were orchestrated by the power mongers. Okay. At this time, at this very juncture, Indira Gandhi was being cremated. And by calling her queen, Kamala Das, in a very deft and suggestive manner, not only indicates the position of the Prime Minister of India at that time, the Congress Prime Minister, but also talks about the blind reverence in which Indira Gandhi was held. And in her funeral pyre, the embers lay cooling. So, from that reference to the faggot, in the second line of the poem, we come to the last line of the poem, and we again get the reference to a fuel, the embers. So, this poem, as I will discuss, I have given you the textual understanding of the poem to the extent possible. Now, in the next presentation, that will be again on this poem itself, I am going to deal with a kind of a rereading of the poem from various perspectives. Because that is required in order to make sense of Kamala Das's own politics of resistance. The way Kamala Das not only described marginalization of individuals and groups, but also registered her protests against the same. Because she was writing what can be truly called poetry of weakness. So in my next presentation on this poem, I am going to deal with these aspects of the poem in further detail. Thank you for listening and watching.